Hello, what we're doing now today is creating a video to show you just a few basics about how to use my Stat and how to access and open and use something called Statcrunch. It'll be the main software that we use for the class to do computations. So let's go to the homework. Okay. Now I'm going to go to a more advanced homework all the way to maybe 3.1. Okay. I'm going to go to question 12 just because I know that has something I want to look at. Perfect. And now here's the homework, section 3.1, problem number 12. Now, I want to talk about two ways to access Statcrunch. Anytime you have a list of numbers, there will be an associated icon that if you click on it, it'll allow you to open up in Statcrunch and it will automatically export all the values. If you have 50 numbers, it's so useful. Like right now there's 9 numbers. It wouldn't be a big deal to enter them by hand, but it's much easier even with 9 to just have them automatically exported, and that's what it'll do if I open this up in Statcrunch. Now, before I do that, I'd like to show you something else. This question help menu is very important. One of the things we're going to look at in a moment is Statcrunch to this menu, but right now let me focus on help me solve this and view an example. These are very, very useful. If you're ever stuck on a problem, this is your easiest way to figure out what to do. All right. If you show me, help me solve this, it'll lead you through it step by step, or if you view an example. I think if you view an example, the downside to this is that it eliminates one of your attempts on a problem. You get 3 attempts. I think if you view an example, it counts as one of your attempts. Okay. In any event, if you do not have a data set, if you do not have this icon showing next to your data set, meaning you're doing something where you need to do a computation but you don't have given numbers, then you will open Statcrunch through this menu. All right. But anytime you have numbers to work with, you're going to have an icon. You click on the icon, you tell it to open it in Statcrunch, and it automatically exports those numbers to Statcrunch. Okay. Now what I like to do is create split screens. I don't know if you know how to do this. On a Windows, there's a Windows button. You hold the Windows button down, and then you use your left and right hand keys to move the screens to the left or to the right. On the Windows, you can do it. All you have to do is Google split screen. But definitely learn how to do this. Let me show you. It makes things so nice. So now I can go back and forth. I can work in Statcrunch and I work in my Stat Lab at the same time, and it's just they both stay open. It's really useful. Okay, so let's look at this spreadsheet right here. This works a lot like Excel, but not exclusively like Excel. What happens is I imagine Excel has some proprietary copyrights on some of the features that this Statcrunch can't use. But for the most part, it's just a spreadsheet. Notice here I have 2 columns. Columns of people's names and a column of numbers. Okay. Now, let's not worry about the specifics of this particular problem. We're just talking about introducing you to Statcrunch. Now, there's a really nice feature called sort that's under the data button. So I click the data button, I find sort, click on it. Now, look at this. This is an input box. I need to tell the program, Statcrunch, where the numbers are. So look, we have 2 columns. One's called student, one's called pulse. Where are the numbers? In pulse. So I click on that. Notice it moved that column's name to the right hand box. Now, I want this sorted. Let's go with descending, meaning largest to smallest. Hit compute, and now do you see that automatically sorted it? Okay. If I wanted to do it again, I hit options edit. It takes me back 1 screen. I do ascending, all right? Do it again, and now it goes from smallest to largest. Pretty easy, right? Okay. So now what I want to talk about is the main button in Statcrunch, the main button, which is the stat button. And what we're going to do here is we're going to calculate the sum of one of these columns. The sum would be all the same. It's the same numbers. But anyway, you go to stat. Notice it opens this menu. Summary stats. Our numbers are in columns, so we choose columns. Now we get this input box. Choose one of these columns. It doesn't matter. Click on it. If you want more than one, you can just hold down right, click on your cursor and scroll down, and notice it does all 3. Let's erase these. Okay, now I'm back to just pulse. If I click on them individually, it erases what I had before. Okay, you can either hold the right click down and drag to get all three, or you can click on one and then control click on another one. Now, we don't need these, all right? So I'm just going to go back to the single one. Now, look down here where it says statistics. All we want out of this is the sum. A lot of this is over our heads right now because we're just beginning the course, but let's look at this. Do you see where it says sum? I click on that, puts it over here. I hit compute, the sum is 692. But what if I don't want the sum? I go to options, edit, okay. I go back down to these statistics. Maybe what I want now is something called the range, high minus low, right? Click on that, hit compute, got my answer box. Suppose I don't want the range anymore. I go to options, edit, takes me back to the screen, and now maybe I want something called sample size, little n. Click on that, compute, sample size is 9. So let's talk about this from the beginning again. You're in my stat lab. You have a homework problem. There's some computations that need to be done. You click on the icon, open in Statcrunch. It automatically exports it to Statcrunch. All right. We did the split screen. It just makes that so nice. And now let's just forget about sorting. Let's just go to this main button. This is the button you're going to use 90% of the time throughout the quarter. You go to stats. In this particular case, we want summary stats. They're in numbers are in columns. We go to columns. We tell it where the numbers are. They're in pulse. Click on that. It moves it over to the right-hand box. We find the value, or excuse me, we find the statistic that we're looking for. In this particular case, it's sum. We click on it. Notice it's in the right-hand box. I hit compute, and there you go. Again, if you want to do something else and you want to go back one screen, options edit is very useful. Now, suppose we want the range. And suppose I want the maximum value. All right, there's max, compute, the maximum is 90. Very, very easy.